sure that technology is working right and it's going live the way it's supposed to be going. And it looks like it is. So welcome to 10 at 10. The last couple of days have been challenging on the tech world. So I think I have everything worked out. I know some of the audio and some of the prior videos was not real good, and I am so sorry for that. I've been struggling to get that right, and I think I finally have it down. And somebody made a comment to me that just, it totally warmed my heart, because they said, I didn't like the sound, but the content was so good that I just pushed through it. So thanks for doing that. Today on 10 at 10, I'm going to be covering how to be amazingly awesome at asking questions. And one of the big things about 10 at 10 is for 10 minutes, we're going to cover the bullet points. And then for a little bit longer after that, we're going to jump into details on those bullet points. So if you can just give 10 minutes to stick around, I think you'll find it really valuable. Today is on asking awesome questions. And very, very first thing about asking questions is this. What do I want from my question? Do I want data? Do I want somebody's opinion? Do I want to make the other person think more? Now, the other day, we talked about the Socratic questioning method, where Socrates used that method to ask questions of his students. He may have known the answer, but the whole idea was for his students to think deeper about it. And so what I'm going to be covering today is different types of questions, open-ended, close-ended, low risk, and high risk. And we're going to be diving into each of these type of questions and when you might want to use them. So let's first talk about open-ended. Open-ended questions, the benefits to those are that they involve people. They create deeper thinking, and they get people talking. They continue a conversation. If you're ever at a party, or you're standing around and you're chatting with somebody and the conversation seems to die out, chances are somebody, if there were any questions asked, they were closed-ended questions. Oh, what do you do for work? Or where do you live? What area of town do you live in? Oh, I live in Claremont Mesa. Oh, okay. And you're thinking, I have nothing in common in Claremont Mesa. Or if you're from San Diego PD, you're thinking, yeah, I've made a lot of dope arrests over in Claremont Mesa. But you're not going to say that, right? So if the conversation dies out, try asking some open-ended questions. And I'm actually going to be covering that in a little bit deeper detail on the next 10 at 10. So make sure you're sticking around for that one. I'll be talking about the power of the pause tomorrow, and I'll also be talking about how open-ended questions and pausing all go together. The other type of question that you can ask is close-ended. These are narrowly defined. They're usually, there's a correct answer and there's an incorrect answer. It's a yes or no. Now, closed-ended questions can be helpful in police work. And to be a great investigator, I first started this series, I was talking about the DC protests, and I was talking about the type of questions that the investigators would want to ask. And one of the things about being a great investigator is specifically asking a lot of questions. Even if you think you know the answer, asking the question still, because you might be surprised. Give you one example. If you think that the person's never going to waive their Miranda rights, or they're never going to waive their Fourth Amendment rights and consent to a search, what harm is it in asking? If they say no, like you thought they were going to, well, that's the same exact answer that you have if you didn't ask them at all. Because if you don't ask them at all, the answer is no, because you don't have permission. But if you do ask them and they say no, well, okay, you're no worse off. They might surprise you and say yes, in which case you're a lot better off. So we've covered open-ended questions and closed-ended questions. The third type is low-risk questions. Now, low-risk questions, there's no right or wrong answer. You're oftentimes asking for somebody's opinion about something, and it's most effective in starting and continuing a discussion. Now, low risk, you can bump this up into high risk, even though you're asking for an opinion, by the subject matter. We always say in parties and in social conversation, don't ask about politics, especially it seems like today. Don't discuss religion and abortion. And sometimes, especially today, police use of force, because that's almost as hot of a topic, or Black Lives Matter, or where do you stand on that? Where do you stand on systemic racism? Touchy subjects today. Maybe you want to go there, maybe you don't. But that can shift it. The subject itself can shift it from low risk into high risk. And high risk, the fourth type, is where you're discussing a potential deal breaker situation. I mean, I've read several social media posts where people are saying, if you feel this way, go ahead and unfriend me. If you think that, or you support this person, go ahead. I don't want to be friends. And I want you to think about something, especially if you're one of those people and you're going, yeah, damn right I said that. I absolutely did. I want you to think about something. First of all, to be a great investigator, you have to consider all points of view. And if you as a person, you as a human being, aren't considering all sides, then you're pretty closed-minded, and there's nothing that will take you from where your stake is in the ground. Basically, what you've done is you've poured cement around that stake and it's not moving. And it's great to be sure about your beliefs. It's great to be positive about where you stand in this world. But you got there because of your life experiences. And the only way that you'll ever evolve as a person is to continue to have life experiences. And when you cut yourself off from people, then you don't get to have as rich of a life experience. And the other thing is this: if you are choosing not to be friends because someone supports a particular political candidate or a particular political party, and you don't want to be friends with them anymore, if that's the basis for your friendship, well, you shouldn't be friends with them, because a relationship, a friendship especially, is built on a lot more than one particular stance. Now, if that person has a whole bunch of things that irritate you and you discover, well, it's a toxic relationship, then by all means, yeah, go ahead and unfriend them. However, just if that's the main thing and that's your main rub, maybe take a step back from that and consider, how am I opening myself up to new information? There are some people who will only watch one news station. As an example, there's some people who will only watch Fox News, or they will only watch CNN, or they'll only watch MSNBC. And if you do, you're limiting yourself in the information that you get. If you watch Fox News, it's going to be one-sided, generally speaking, from the conservative point of view. CNN from the liberal Democratic point of view. MSNBC the same way. So, and you talk about the mainstream media, they get things wrong on a regular basis. And if you're limiting yourself to only one of those channels, then you're really limiting yourself to what they only get wrong. Somebody else might have something right. They might not. They might just have a different point of view that you haven't considered yet. So I encourage you to do that. Last thing, be careful about asking a question that gives the answer that you expect in the question. Now, sometimes that's a great way to go. They teach lawyers in court, never ask a question that you don't know the answer to. But other times, it's not so great. So I'll give you an example of a bad question. You're talking to a suspect and you say, "You've never been arrested, have you?" A much better question would be, "When you've been arrested, what was that for?" There's a presumption in there. And what you want to be able to have that suspect do is you want to be able to have them deny it. Because if you say, "Well, you haven't been arrested, have you?" It's easy to go, "Well, no, of course not." And in their heads, they're going to be thinking, "Well, this is a rookie cop." Whereas when you ask that question differently and there's a presumption that they have been arrested before, they're going, "Gosh, how did this cop even know I've been arrested?" Well, sometimes it's the prison tats. Sometimes it's the oh, I just forgot the term, the parolee shuffle, where they're used to walking with leg chains so they never take a full step. Things like that are clues that this person has been incarcerated. And you can ask that question with a lot of assurance. Sometimes you're not really sure. Maybe yes, maybe no. But make them give the negative, because it's a lot easier to go along with somebody than to go against them. As an example, let's say you're out to eat at a restaurant, which out in California, there's none of that happening right now during COVID. But let's say you're out at a restaurant in the future and you've ordered a cup of coffee and it's dinner time and you want to make sure that you are getting caffeine-free decaf, getting decaf coffee. And the waiter or waitress brings the pot of coffee over, even on a refill. If you say, "That's decaffeinated, right?" They're most likely to say, "Oh, yeah, sure." And they might have not paid attention when they grabbed the pot. Whereas if you say, "That's caffeinated coffee, right?" And they go and they've grabbed the decaf and they're like, "Oh, no, this is decaf." They have to tell you no. That takes a lot more effort for someone to do. And then when they go, "No, this is decaf," then you can say, "Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. I wanted decaf. Go ahead." But you got the truth out of the situation. Now, a good question, you don't have any weapons on you, then your next follow-up when they say no, and I used to make a joke out of this. I would say, "You don't have any knives, guns, anything that's going to poke or stick me, no bazookas, hand grenades, low-yield nuclear weapons." And then, of course, they say no, and they're laughing at this point. You've relaxed them. You've actually calmed their amygdala down a little bit. Then you followed up with, "Then you won't mind if I check?" That's a good question. So that's it for the first 10 minutes of 10 at 10. So if you need to bounce, totally understand. Check us out at Tomorrow's Police Officer. I'll throw the website up here, tomorrowspoliceofficer.com. And if you can stick around for just a few more minutes, I want to talk about something that's really important, and it goes right along the lines of being amazingly awesome at asking questions. Okay, so today we're talking about asking or being amazingly awesome at asking questions. And I talked about the three things that typically you're looking for in a question. Are you looking for data? Are you looking for an opinion? Are you looking for having that person think a little bit more about something that they've said or about a subject? And that's the Socratic questioning method, asking them a question that makes them think deeper about it. Now, the type of questions, there's 4 types of questions: open-ended, closed-ended, low risk, and high risk. So of those questions, there are some people that you're going to run across, especially in the law enforcement world, that you're starting to wonder if they're considering suicide. And so what I want to share with you today, and I'm going to put these in a post so you have them handy, some recommended suicide screening questions. And what you can do with this, I highly recommend it, because in a moment of stress, you're not going to remember all of these questions. There's 6 of them. What I recommend that you do is go to the post, select the text, and then post it into a note in your notepad app on your phone. That way, and title it suicide screening questions. And that way you can always bring it up on your phone. And that way you'll have these questions handy. And you don't have to ask them word for word, but you're looking for the main concepts. And they build on one another. And these questions, these 6 questions, I've been recommended through the suicide prevention hotline. And so the first one is this. When you ask that question, have you wished you were dead or wished you could go to sleep and not wake up? Have you ever wished you were dead or wished that you could go to sleep and not wake up? That's the first question. The second question, have you actually had any thoughts about killing yourself? And if they answer yes, then make sure you answer these next several questions. Now, if they answer no to both of those two, you're good. Those are good first ones. Have you ever wished you were dead or wished you could go to sleep and not wake up? And have you actually had any thoughts about killing yourself? Two great screening questions. Those are pretty simple to remember. If you get a yes to either one of those, make sure that you answer or ask, so you get answers to the next questions 3, 4, 5, and 6. Number 3 is, have you thought about how you might do this? Because they've answered yes to they wish they were dead, or they've answered yes to having thoughts about killing yourself. Ask them, have you thought about how you might do this? Now I'm going to stop here because these are high-risk questions in the sense of if you don't ask these questions, that person may go off and kill themselves, and the world's going to be a lesser place because they're not here with us. You're going to feel bad as well. But the more important thing is this person's not around anymore. Now I want to say this. I used to think that if I asked these type of questions, isn't going to it encourage the person to kill themselves? I mean, we're talking about it, so doesn't that make it more real? And research has shown exactly the opposite. The mere fact that you're bringing it up, the fact that you're talking about it with them, actually can help them in not committing suicide. It can help them in seeking help. That's pretty cool. So just having this conversation, beyond being able to recognize that somebody's in need of help, just having the conversation alone can be the thing that saves their life. So let me go on to the next one. Have you had any intention of acting on these thoughts of killing yourself? Have you had any intention on acting on these thoughts of killing yourself? That's question number 4. Question number 5 is, have you started to work out? Have you started to work out, or have you worked out the details of how you're going to kill yourself? And question number 6, always ask this question. Do you intend to carry out this plan? And I'm sorry, that's the last part, number 5. Number 6 is in the past 3 months. Number 6 is in the past 3 months. Have you done anything, started to do anything, or prepared to do anything to end your life? So in the last 3 months, have you done anything, started to do anything, or prepared to do anything to end your life? Now, based on the results of these questions, it might require you to take some action. And the first thing is, obviously, we don't want to leave this person alone. We want to find them the support that can help. We're not going to go into what that support is. The cool thing is that there's lots of resources out there to be able to do that. But because we're talking about questions, and because we're in the law enforcement world, and unfortunately, there's a lot of law enforcement officers who take their own lives. A lot of law enforcement officers that do commit suicide. And maybe by asking these questions, by having this discussion, you can end up saving somebody's life. I'm going to put some other resources in addition to these questions in the notes under here. Do me a favor. If there's better questions that you've found, if there's a situation where having this type of discussion has helped somebody, please comment below. Also, if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, Tomorrow's Police Officer YouTube channel, please hit the subscribe button and like the video. I'd really appreciate that. It lets me know I'm on the right track. And when you hit the subscribe button, there's actually a little bell that shows up. If you click on that, you'll get a notification every time we post a video, and that way you won't miss anything. That's it for today's 10 at 10. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing this with your friends. Thanks for getting the word out about this. I appreciate it. In the meantime, until tomorrow, when we're talking about the power of the pause in tomorrow's 10 at 10, until tomorrow, please stay safe. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.